Welcome everyone to Through the Void Gate, a Warcaster podcast for new and experienced players. Deploying in 3.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 14 of Through the Void Gate. Once again today, I'm joined by Justin.
Howdy.
And Spencer.
Hey.
Today we're going to be talking about our experiences in the De-Escalation League, which is the third league that Spencer has ran. Before we get to our main topic, though, I'm going to pass it over to Sneaky for news.
All right, so we don't have a ton of news this week, but we have gotten a couple of previews for Kickstarter 3 since our last episode. Both of them were for Marcher World. So for the Marcher World Aerial Assault Cadre, we've got what seems to be the entire cadre now, outside of the attachment. So we got revealed their solo, who just like everybody else flies, and he's got, I think they have a male and a female model they showed. So they have a sword and like a submachine gun and the little helicopter backpacks that the rest of them have. So it looks pretty cool. Looks like it's going to be a combat solo, which is something that Marcher World's kind of missing right now outside of the Hunter, and
It's poo-poo.
Yeah.
Well, hide your nemesis.
Yeah, that's fair. So it's probably basically gonna be like a little mini Jack's Red Blade, which is pretty cool. So we'll see exactly how that shakes out. And then to complement the Air Assault Commander, whatever it's called, is the Melee Air Assault Squad. So
But again, hide your nemesis.
yeah, so they're pretty cool. They've got the same submachine gun that the commander has, and then they have these big fireman axes, which just look really cool. So to round out the rest of the cadre, they've got the ranged air assault unit, which has basically will look like 2 battle rifles, and then the Storm Vulture manned vehicle. So really interested to see the rules for that, as well as to see if vehicles get any more love in the next Kickstarter, because right now they don't have quite as much support as Warjacks. And yeah, so pretty cool things coming for the Marcher World side of things. And then just to keep everybody updated on where we're at with Kickstarter 3 reveals, we've had 3 reveals for AC. So the Witch Attendant Squad, the Golem 2-man 40mm squad, which look really cool, and the Great Witch Solo, which is their centerpiece. And then we're waiting on the Witch's Cauldron, basically, is what it's being called in the community right now. So really interested to see how that, and then the Empyrean Soul Collector work, because they seem more like support pieces, which we haven't really seen in the game yet. So that'll be interesting. True. But
that dude does nothing but support. He does it badly.
But the Grafter is still like a dude, right? These are just like things. They're
inanimate objects.
Yeah, like, so it'll be interesting to see how those play out in the game and how they incorporate them. On the Empyrean side, we've seen 2 squads. One is their 40mm melee squad that are just like super chunky and have these dual bladed halberds and look amazing. And then there's their 40mm flying squad, which just look absolutely ridiculous. So we're still yes, true. So we're still waiting.
Kickstarter 2 is not going to be very friendly with them.
No, yeah, all the anti-flying hate from Kickstarter 2 is probably going to really see some play in Kickstarter 3. So on the Empyrean side of things, we're still waiting on the Soul Collector, their solo, and presumably a attachment. And then on the ISA side of things, we have seen the 3rd Commander, which is like one of my favorite models ever, the Drone Squad, the new Warjack, and we are waiting on the 40mm squad that the commander leads, as well as their sniffer attachment.
And we know that's going to be a 3-man unit, right?
Yes. I believe. Pretty sure. Yeah. And so, yeah, so that's what the cadres are looking like right now and kind of where we're at. As far as shipping and other updates, things are in process. We're still waiting on the race mats, but they are not going to delay shipping for those. So hopefully they can clear customs in Seattle soon, and they can all get shipped out together. If not, we're still getting our models soon. Looks like they've got a lot of stuff packed up. I was trying to figure out what the Empyrean stuff that they showed sitting in bins was, but I couldn't quite place them. I'm assuming it was the demon, like tentacles, but I really wasn't sure. And yeah, so that's just kind of where we're at right now. So I'll toss you over to Justin, and he'll update us on what's going on in the community.
Yeah, there's actually a reasonable amount of community content out right now. War Budgies, he's been putting out his Jericho Reach campaign. I think he's on episode 3 now. Episode 3 is really interesting because he takes like one of the First Strike or the story missions and kind of tweaks it a little bit for his thing. He makes up a really cool rule for some terrain. And going into our next topic, there's people making things, and he actually uses some of Studio M's objective markers on there. So check that out if you're interested in buying those at all. He's got those on display there. They look really good. I love his battle reports. They're great. As far as community created items, Studio M, he's still got his objective markers and his void gates for sale at his Etsy shop. And we've actually had a new guy come out, Thunder Warrior?
Thunderhead.
Thunderhead Studios. He's actually created some really interesting terrain. I personally am a huge fan of things that can help store my stuff and I can use it on the table. And recently, I think just today, he put out the files for like a dice box or not a dice box, but a deck box that also serves as a piece of terrain, and just like another piece of terrain there's like a really cool centerpiece item that also holds all your tokens and stuff. So check both of those guys out. They're both on the Discord fairly often too. So if you ever want to talk to them, if there's something you're interested in asking them about their terrain or how to get it or different things, they're super interactive. They're both really great creators. We're happy to have them in the. Finally, Sergeant Spike. What was that, Steve?
I was just going to say, Studio M stuff can be found in his Etsy shop, and then Thunderhead Studios, you can get his files off Thingiverse, or you can order pre-printed models from Steel Warrior Studios.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see what else they both come out with, because they've been doing some great work. Also, the Charge and Spike has been putting out a bunch of episodes recently. I think since we last had a cast, they've put out at least 2 episodes. I know they did a pretty big deep dive into the Aeternus Continuum and how they work and a lot of their fluff and lore and a lot of their feel and look. I don't think it was a tactics episode. I didn't catch any tactics when I was listening, but it was all about what the AC is about as a fluff and lore standpoint. So listen to that if you're an AC player, if you like Dirty Cultists. Just give it a listen. They do a really deep dive. They also did an episode on terrain, and it's more about how to get your terrain and different ways of making and procuring terrain. So it's worth a listen also.
Yeah, they've switched over to a weekly schedule where now they're doing separate charge and spike episodes. So their charge episodes are hobby related, like the terrain one, and then the spike episodes are the ones that are tactics related. So now instead of doing them together in one episode, they're breaking them up into different episodes.
And you would think that makes them shorter episodes, but that AC episode is like 3 hours long.
Yeah. Well, that was the one where they interviewed Doug, right?
Yeah, but like Doug is part of it. Like the whole first hour, Doug doesn't even appear. So, it's a great listen. They do a really good breakdown of the faction. Like I say, if you want to know stuff about AC, you will know it. So definitely give them a listen. And I think that puts us back to you, Josh.
All right. So for our third league, Spencer decided to run a de-escalation format, which for anyone that doesn't know, do you want to break down what that is, Spencer?
Yeah, absolutely. So the normal format via Pendulum is the escalation format, where you start off at skirmish and then move up to modified skirmish and then finish off with full size. But after our second league, where we wound up just because of the way that the tournament panned out, to where we didn't play the last round, so we didn't get a full size game. I wanted to try out de-escalation, where it's the opposite, where you start out with your full-size game and then you go to modified skirmish and then down to skirmish. And skirmish is always going to be you're going to have more skirmish rounds than any other, just because of how Pendulum works. And so that way you're guaranteed to get every single game size, because your first 3 games are going to be one of each, at least. So it made more sense to me to run it that way. Also, from like a in-person sort of situation, it makes sense to me, because you could like start your tournament at like 10 a.m., do your full-size game, and that's 3 hours, take lunch, and then finish off with all of your skirmish rounds. And then also, it's not where you're playing your longest game at the very end of the day. So it seemed to make sense to me from multiple standpoints. So I wanted to try it out, and I really liked how it turned out. So that's what I'm going to be running going forward. At least that's the plan for now.
Yeah, I really like the format a lot better too. And I mean, even for like people that are into fluff and like the story and everything, it kind of makes sense. You start off with this bigger battle, and then your remnants kind of break off into smaller battles, and the forces shrink as people die and people don't get reinforced. It makes sense on all fronts, really. I really do like the idea of the de-escalation league over an escalation league.
Reasons. So round 1, I was paired against No Howard, and we both played Marcher Worlds, and I went first, and I was able to put my Strike Raptor. I know, right?
It's going to get so confusing when there's a Strike Raptor and a Storm Vulture on the table.
Oh man, I know. And I just finished a huge
Oh my
stint
god,
playing
I didn't
Circle.
even think of that. That's awful.
So I
Only
was
battle the Raiders and Reavers.
And Weavers.
Oh,
Well, Weavers I'm fine with, but Factotums and Fulcrums I'm bad with.
Yeah, that's fair. But
Oh,
back
now
to Scotch.
I'm all sorts of confused now.
We just both apologized to you at the same time as you started trying to talk again, so please go ahead.
I was able to put my Strike Raptor into position turn 1 that if I drew Cortical, turn 2, I put myself up on the central platform, able to shoot whatever I wanted. And I got lucky, and I did indeed draw Cortical. And from there, I was just able to position my Strike Raptor to where I could bully the board and have good control of that one half the board. And then I just had to take care of the lower half of the board with everything else.
See, that's surprising to me that you could bully on full size with the Strike Raptor, especially since are you running the melee Strike Raptor, or are you running a different what I normally see?
I went with like a more traditional range Strike Raptor.
Okay. That makes a lot more sense. I'm like, he's sitting up there with 2 guns and he's saying he's bullying the board. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, you're running like Ace with 2 battle rifles, a Cyclone, and a railgun, right?
No, not the railgun, the particle.
Particle cannon.
Yeah.
I think the particle cannon in full size, because squads are so important, is just...
That's what I elected for. I wanted as much removal as possible, and I think I ended up winning that game 15-10, and first off, I had a complete brain fart and thought solos could score round 1. So I really had to pressure rounds 2 and 3 to like make up for that.
I remember that.
It was still 4-4 after the first pulse round. And at the end, 10 of my 15 points ended up being from body count with the Strike Raptor.
Yeah. It's pretty bad.
We did make a slight error in the board. Sneaky had used these walls with translucent green pieces before, and you could pass through them and shoot through them. So we just assumed that that's what it was again, and we didn't find out till Sneaky popped in on us during the 3rd pulse round. But
I mean,
That-
the thing is, as long as you and your opponent agree on the terrain, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. It benefited him at first for a couple of his movements, but as soon as I got my Strike Raptor where I got it to, it was immediately amazingly advantageous for me. So
Well, one of the interesting things about this scenario too was he had those walls pretty much around the objectives, and the objectives didn't give cover in this one. I think this is the first time I think I've played on a mission where they don't provide cover.
yeah,
It makes you play so different with them.
it made a big deal.
Yeah. And then while we're on the topic, just because I always forget to do this when we do these breakdowns. So the scenarios were for first round, it was Orders of Magnitude, the primary mission. For the second round, which was the modified skirmish, the 11 and 2, we played Boiling Point. Then for the first skirmish round, we played Chaos Theory. And for the last skirmish round, we played Spontaneous Combustion.
Yeah, so the first game ended, I won 15-10. My second game, I don't remember what the score ended up being, but it was against Hidicule.
You were 13-3.
Okay, thank you. And I had second turn advantage, and I was able
Round
to...
2, there's no second turn advantage. It's first turn advantage.
Oh yeah, that one. I was able to get on the points and basically shut him out for the most part. He didn't kill my Strike Raptor all game, and it sat on the furthest point to his deployment zone. And then I basically just had to jockey for position on the other two. He was able to sneak in a couple. I don't think we played the whole game, but I can't remember.
I mean, this was like 3-4 weeks.
Yeah. I feel like he called it partway into Pulse Round 3 because I scored a body count and there was no chance of him winning. But
beating up on poor Hideki.
I mean, he's really nice to play though. Like him and I chat the whole time that I abuse him.
Hidicule's awesome to play with. I felt bad one night. I was at a place where I didn't have a microphone, and he's like, "You still want to play?" I was like, "Sure." So I'm typing in chat to him anytime I'm rolling dice or something. I mean, it worked. We somehow got a full game in, but he's always great to play against.
Oh, I would never. It drives me nuts when I was playing Digimon and people were playing without jumping in chat. Like, playing Warcaster would drive me insane.
Oh, it was barely playable, but like Hidicule was super good about it. I was just like, marking things. We were typing in chat. I mean, it was a good time. I did not hate it as much as I thought I would.
Yeah, it was a fun game. The turning point was turn 3 of Pulse Round 1. He summoned out of a gate, but he thought he was just a bit out of the Strike Raptor's range. But I was able to close
Never out of the Strike Raptor's range.
Yeah.
That was his first mistake.
I spiked and I played Kinetic Accelerator, and I flew over to him because in this game I was using the melee Strike Raptor. And
wait, he was in your range without you having to play Ascension Catalyst or Cortical Rampager?
I think so. Yeah.
So he didn't measure to 11?
No, he didn't. I don't know if he thought that I was gonna like stack my defense and just try and because I could get to the front guy without it. I don't know if he thought that I could plant myself in the middle like that, but there was a spot for me to land in the middle, and I just meleeed everything and scored an early body count, and that kind of just put him on the back foot.
Yeah.
People don't usually expect a Kinetic Accelerator from a Strike Raptor until it happens.
I mean, anything that has 2 melee weapons, I kind of expect them to have Kinetic Accelerator in their list.
Yeah, especially if they're running a fighter, too.
Yeah. But that was the big turning point, and after that, it was just a chase game. I will say he did put a lot of pressure on me throughout the game. So I really had to, the score doesn't denote how close the game felt. He's very good at using his, Annihilator squads to clear out large chunks of the map. So I kept just having to throw more fodder in his face to stop him from advancing. There was one turn he killed Fiddles, a mechanic, and put 1 or 2 damage on a Duskwolf and missed at least 1 or 2 rolls to kill it. And I was sweating buckets because that was my whole force on the bottom half of the map.
Well, the Strike Raptor could get there in one activation anyway. So.
And then round 3 was supposed to be
I
against
like the no comment.
JoJo. And unfortunately, the time difference between myself and JoJo is like 12 hours. We had some trouble linking up last time we got our game in, but we managed to get it in because he stayed up super late for us to be able to play. And I really appreciated it. But this time he was busy with work, and I can never play till after like 9 at night because I wait for my wife and kid to go to bed. So it just didn't sync up for us this time, and he graciously conceded to me, so I told him I owe him one for next time. I really enjoyed the first time I played him, so I was a little disappointed we didn't get to play again.
Oh, JoJo is really good. Too.
Yeah, super fun guy to talk to. And then that put me against Sneaky in round 4. So here's my brief recap of how this game went. I win second turn advantage. I'm feeling good. He moves up. He poops out Empyreans because that's what they do. They were just all over the board. And then I move up and I make a play to take out his Sentinel. I have a Mat 7 2 arc on it, Strike Raptor, with 4 attacks to go into a defense 2 Sentinel, and I wasn't able to kill it. And that basically set the tone of the game. My dice failed me, and then because I didn't kill the Sentinel in turn, it wiped my board. At the start of turn 3 in Pulse Round 1, I only had Fiddles on the board, and he had 2 damage on him, and he was on fire. So the rest of the game would have been me summoning stuff and the Sentinel squishing it. At that point, there's literally nothing you can do to turn the tide of that game, barring like his dice going absolutely cold. So I saved us both some time, and I graciously conceded to the crushing I got in 2 turns.
Graciously.
I don't know if you can call it graciously. I was in that chat.
So there was some air quotes around that.
Like, I was there, Josh. You can lie to the people. You can't lie to me.
This is true.
Josh
is doing a great job holding back his soul right now. I'll just let everybody know.
I'll let you know right now. Spoilers. I conceded to Sneaky, and there was nothing gracious about the way I did it. So
I have self-control. On that note, Justin, do you want to break down your experience next?
okay, sure. So I took ISA into this tournament. I own ISA and AC, so I kind of want to kind of flip flop between both of them, and I more or less whenever a tournament happens, I kind of like to see factions kind of evenly represented. So I know last Pendulum there was 1 ISA player, so I really just kind of wanted to have more ISA show up in here, and I think it was still just me and Hitakill for ISA, right? There wasn't another one?
Correct. But you repped ISA. This is the first time they placed above the bottom, 3. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think ISA, I think that they are probably like a good litmus test for what the faction strengths should be. They have really cool tools, they have really cool tricks, but I don't think any of their stuff is overly oppressive. So I really like where ISA sits from a balance perspective, personally. I know there are others that probably don't agree with me, but whereas I feel Marcher Worlds and Empyreans are a little bit over the bar, and I feel like AC is a little bit under the bar, I feel like ISA is sitting right at where factions should be.
I agree.
That said, so I went into my first game. It was versus Hitakill. We played the full size, and I mean, I'm not used to full size. That mission was very interesting to me. And I think a lot of what happened was early on, I think I cleared one of his squads that he really wasn't expecting me to clear. And every turn, I was just chucking out so many squads. I ended up getting a pretty dominating board state. Like, I had my half of the board secured, and I was pushing into his board. And one thing I like to do with ISA a lot is just summon a Morningstar and just put it on a point and never activate it. And after the second pulse round, I think he conceded then because I had all my zones. Like, he didn't have much going on there, and he had enough to pressure one of his zones, but it had a Morningstar on it, and it was going to be very difficult to efficiently remove because I think I had an arc on it and it had a Maelstrom. So removing it efficiently was going to be an issue, and I was putting pressure on all of his zones. So It was one of those things where, I only scored a couple of the points I did because, I had one or two guys on those points, but it was enough to swing the game enough in my advantage that I don't think he could have come back. Now, an interesting thing about that game, though, is I don't think either one of us scored body count. Either that or we both only scored body count one time. Like, I think we were pretty even on that. I don't remember body count or secondaries actually being, a turning point in that game. This is also 4 weeks ago, so feel free to correct me on that one, Hidakil. Anyway, so on to my next round. I played JoJo. I actually got my game in. We did have some scheduling issues going on also. I mean, apparently he's just been very busy and has a lot going on, so I get it. He was playing he was playing AC, and this is on boiling point again. So this is the one end of activation scoring. We ended up getting our game like last minute for the round, like really super last minute. But it was a good game. It was very back and forth. The score won't tell you that because it did end 11-1. But he was making good plays. He just wasn't getting on scenario at the end of his activation, or something would happen when he did get on there and he wouldn't score it. So it was just a lot of missed opportunities and little things that went wrong there. He's a great player. He did some things that put pressure on me, but it was at a point where he couldn't pressure scenario enough with some of his earlier moves, and it ended up costing him the game. But it was a great game. I love playing against JoJo. I hope that he gets less busy so that we can play some more because he's a great opponent. My next round was Sneaky, and this was Salt City, USA, because we were on Chaos Theory, the one with 5 objectives, and I won the die roll. I was going second. I felt good about it. He summons a bunch of stuff. I don't kill enough as usual. And,
you also summon a bunch of stuff.
I did. We both summoned some stuff. But you went first, and I didn't kill Did I kill anything that round?
I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't think I killed anything. I don't think you really killed anything because everything was going back to my Morningstar because Defender Cortex real good.
Mm-hmm.
But I still just had a couple. The first 2 rounds I just couldn't kill anything, and then the Sentinel got fired up and got body count on its own as usual. And from there he wiped me off the board and scored 4 points at the end of the round. So it was like 6-2 or 6-1 is what it would have been, or 6-3, and I'd have had just my Morningstar and whatever I summoned that turn. So basically I would have had the Morningstar, which I think only had 2 health left, versus pretty much his entire army, and then whatever I pull out of 2 gates. It just wasn't a playable game at that point. The Sentinel was just going to spike, remove its activation token, and get body count every turn. So I saved us both some time. Oh, wait. Let me use Josh's turns. I graciously conceded. So
I did.
So yeah, that was the way that game went. It was just really impressive once the Sentinel got online. I don't think ISA has anything that quite hits at that weight class.
I'm seeing a theme here.
Yeah, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I think even if you kit out a Morningstar to be a damage Morningstar, does it hit anywhere near what a Sentinel hits?
No.
So yeah, I didn't see much way for me to get back in that game. So yeah, I wasn't going to be able to keep models on the board. So then we go to my final round, and this was actually my most interesting round in my opinion. I played against Beards, and he was like, "Oh, I finally don't play Empyreans. This is nice." I feel so terrible for that man. He's just been getting the worst matchups ever. Just Empyreans. The last tournament, didn't he play you first round, then Ryan, then Red or something?
Yeah, I think so. Something like that.
It was something absurd. I know he played Ryan and you. I don't know if his third one was also Empyreans.
Yeah, and then this round, who he was supposed to play had to drop, and so in the first round, so I was like, well, so you get a game and I'll play you. And I wanted to practice.
Empyreans.
And so Empyreans. And then for the second round we got matched up. So he played me twice in a row. And, yeah.
Oh man. Hey, if there's ever a wooden spoon for these TTS leagues, he gets it. Because he's had you first or second round both of these last ones, right?
Yeah.
Oof.
Thank
Anyway,
you for still coming out, Beards.
Yeah. Hey, I'm telling you what. I enjoy all my games in these tournaments, even the one where Sneaky crushes my soul. But I think for this tournament, my favorite game was the one with Beards. We had a really big back and forth game. This is on the one with the 3 scenario points that are kind of diagonal, and they have the same scoring each turn. We both had some dice rolls that went crazy. I know memorable moment for me was I did everything in my power to kill a Raker that was on his point. If I could have killed this Raker on his point, it would have been the difference in, like, depending on the turn, between 6 and 8 points in the final score. Or at the bare minimum, 3 to 8 points. But I just, for some reason, I couldn't kill this Raker. I had a 2-arc Firebrand go fully into it, couldn't kill it. I had Boss go into it, couldn't kill it. I had a whole Enforcer squad. I think 5 of the 6 attacks went into this Raker, couldn't kill it. This Raker was immortal. It sat on 1 health for like the entire game and just laughed. So, yeah, that Raker was just awful. Also, he did a really cool power play move because he took, instead of taking body count, he took recon. And this is actually in the end what ended up winning me the game. But it was a really cool power play on his part. So he was playing Harlan Sec in his AC list. Oh, he was playing AC. So he's playing Harlan Sec, and what happened was it was getting near the end of the game, and he wanted to just put more things on his point so that I couldn't score them. So score it, because he was going to score mine. He had just cleared me to where I could not get on that point, and we were both contesting the middle point, so it was like he needed to score that to be in the game. So the turn before the final turn, he summons Sec near his own near my board edge. So that turn, he charges Sec, he moves Sec across the board edge so he gets recon. And I'm like, oh, okay, so now you just want to remove a card from my hand so I can't destroy you? He's like, no. I'm going to spike to jump near that Raker, and I'm just going to be on that point. So he went from one side of the board to the other and got recon and tried to stop me from killing the Raker. Like, it was a really, really cool power play. I really like that. I had not thought of using Sec that particular way. That was really well done. I thought it was really, really cool. That game ended up being really close. I had second turn advantage even, and it still ended. I beat him 8-7, which is kind of a nail biter. And it only came down to secondaries. I ended up getting body count twice, and he got recon. So because I got more points out of body count, that was what decided the game. So really good on Beards. That was a really close, really fun game. I super appreciate it. I hope I get to play against you more. It was really fun.
Who had more deployment cost out at the end?
I might have. I don't know. I don't think he had his Nemesis out. Did he do an AAR for you?
I'd have to look.
Because it says it on there, because you asked that question.
Mm-hmm. I'd have to look.
I think I did, because I had Boss, a squad, 2 Firebrands, and like 2 solos. And I want to say that he had a Scourge, a Marauder, a squad, technically 2 squads actually, and that maybe a Weaver. So actually, we might have even been pretty close for deployment cost.
Yeah. Well, so if the second squad was just the Raker, it doesn't count.
Oh yeah, that's right. The second squad was just the Raker.
The Immortal Raker.
It was like I've never seen a model survive through that level of beating. Like the second pulse round, I score that objective if I kill that Raker when Boss attacks it with both of his melee attacks with armor piercing. Fails to kill. The next round, I attacked it with like the full squad, and I think I killed a solo with the first shot from that squad, and then the rest of them went into it. And then I think I killed something else later on in the turn. So that would have been body count. That thing wouldn't die. It was crazy. I could not even believe what that Raker lived through.
Listening to you recount your games actually made me think of something that I wrote down that I wanted to note and completely skipped it. My first 2 opponents, so No Howard and Hiticule, weren't playing body count. One of them, No Howard had salvage. So
that's a weird one.
Yeah, because he had a lot of the melee Marcher World squad. So he was going to try and scrap my Jack, which he did one time. He scrapped a Duskwolf for 2 points. but I just A, removed them whenever they hit the table, or B, ran straight away from them so he couldn't get there. That being said, I did find, and Hitikul had recon.
Yeah.
But that
I
being
don't think Hitikul actually cares for body count.
He always takes recon.
Yeah. I mean, he scored it against me, like 3 points.
Right. I mean, that's the thing about recon is you've lowered your top end. Like, hey, I can only score 3 points on this. But the fact of the matter is, scoring those 3 points is not that hard, especially in skirmish. It's like
It's
borderline
basically guaranteed on skirmish.
Yeah. So it's one of those things like body count is if you want to gamble a little bit and you think you can do it, but recon is just more guaranteed.
Yeah, and it actually, him scoring recon early in the game did put a little like pressure on me. But I did find that without having body count on the other side of the table, I was able to think about the game differently.
Well, yeah, you can. I know that I can't summon 3 solos out of one gate ever.
Yeah.
If the opponent has body count.
Or even
But
2
as soon as
sometimes.
I found out that Beards didn't have body count, I was like, party buzz, here we go. Everything's coming out of here.
There's also times that you like try and hide a figure that has a couple damage on it or 1 damage on it because you don't want to give them that easy body count. And I was just able to leave half-dead soldiers all over the battlefield and not care.
Yeah, body count. Honestly, I'm wondering if the secondaries would be fine. Like they wouldn't be good still, but they would probably be fine if they just removed body count.
That's what I'm thinking. I almost want to run one of these events and ban body count just to see how it feels.
What I think actually happens in that situation though is everybody just takes recon and skirmish, and it's a non-issue anyway.
Mm-hmm.
That's my only concern with just banning body count is then it's like, why are we even playing with secondaries?
Yep.
I will say that might change come Kickstarter too, because I could see Marcher Worlds taking salvage.
The problem is salvage. For people that aren't aware, there's just so many restrictions on it. What happens is you have to kill a warjack with a melee attack from a squad. There's 3 qualifiers, and you get 2 points for that. So the problem is there's just so many things that can go wrong with that. And I don't think you can score it at all versus ISA. So if you get paired against ISA, you've just given up your secondary.
That's fair.
Because the second you put one of your squaddies in, okay, well, you're going to melee attack me. I'm going to spike to slam you away, and then I'm going to just walk away.
I mean, we'll see. We'll see when the melee cadre comes out. Like, that's what I'm wondering.
I mean, you've already got probably what I suspect is going to be one of the best melee squads in the game for a while. Your melee cadre, I don't even know what they could do to one-up the, hey, I've got 2 different melee attacks, and one lets me move extra, and I've got Slip Displacer. God, if they start trying to one-up your Marcher World squads, I'm really terrified for the direction the game's going.
Don't forget about Cleave and Blast.
And Map 4.
And Mat 4. Yeah.
That squad is just so over the bar. It's crazy.
They're disgusting.
I'm going to test it, though, if we play an event like that, just to see. You might be right, but it's just something I've been thinking about.
Do you see yourself taking it in skirmish?
Salvage?
Yeah.
I'm not sure about skirmish, but I want to try it to see because it might make you want to play an extra squad if you find yourself consistently scoring it.
I mean, are you going to find yourself consistently scoring it though? Here's my
that's
thing.
what testing's for.
The way I run AC and ISA, you are never scoring it against me. I will borderline. I would pay you money if you could score it against either one of mine, because then I just run a Nemesis and 2 sights is what I usually like to do in skirmish if the board will allow me to run sights.
Yeah.
So good luck getting it with your melee squad then. Then I have then in full sight in ISA okay, you can go against my Armor 6 Morningstar if you want. If that's your prerogative, you want to go after that, that's fine. And then Firebrands are just the most annoying model to think you can kill with melee.
Yeah. While we're on that note, something that's going to be really interesting is with cadres, and the choice of whether to use them in skirmish or not, because all of the cadres have 2 squads. So
I mean, they
that's
got to
gonna-
be really damn good. The thing is, like, I don't know about marchers because their squads are basically the same as what we've already got. You know, just like single wound little dudes.
Mhm.
But medium-based squads, if they've got multiple wounds, maybe they're durable enough suddenly to actually be in skirmish.
Mhm.
I'm a little concerned that I mean, already I haven't seen stats. I don't know anything about them other than they fly and that there's 3 medium-based models. But I think that squad is just going to wreck skirmish.
The Empyreans, yeah,
The
they look
Empyreans,
nasty.
yeah, I think that one. I mean, I don't know how that one doesn't wreck skirmish.
It just depends on whether they're multiple wounds and what their stats are. You know,
I do not see them making a medium-based model and being like, yeah,
Yeah.
that would be the dumbest thing. Like, like I'm this big chunky boy and I'm one hitbox.
yeah. Well, I mean, they could also make it where, because all of them are ions, they could all, count as heroes. Where if they die, and that's what the Soul Collector is for. Is if you have the Soul Collector out, then they can come back or whatever.
Like they
So, it'll
almost have to
be
be a hero
interesting.
squad in order not to completely shift the balance.
It'll be interesting to see like how it all works out.
I mean, I'm kind of curious what they're gonna do to these cadres to make them worth taking these things, right? Like, in AC, and like maybe the witches are great, but maybe for the cadre you need, witches and the guardian dudes. Well, if I feel like the guardians are not great or the witches aren't great, and I only like one or the other, like, what are they gonna do to entice me to bring that unit in order to get my great witch?
That's the thing. If you want to take the Great Witch, you have to take the other stuff. That's the enticement.
Yeah, but like how good is she gonna have to be for you to take one of your slots and it be a bad?
Well, I mean, I think in AC you don't really have to worry about that. Like when talking about squads, at least.
Well, yeah, because I mean you've already got like just nothing for options anyways.
Yeah, I think ISA it's a way bigger discussion because like ISA squads are so good, but then the drones, like, I don't think the drones are going to have nearly the output that the other squads do. So what are they going to bring to the table? And
I was kind of hoping the drones would be almost like an attachment for that vehicle or that warjack.
yeah,
Like
And
that would be
that's-
cool if they were like stuck with him. They kind of worked like a squad, but
yeah. And then the other side of the coin is like the Firebrand's a really good warjack. So what's this special warjack going to do to make you not want to take a Firebrand? You
yeah,
know?
I mean that's the whole thing. Like ISA is actually, like I say, I like ISA because I feel like it's where like the game should be at. Like everybody's got tricks and cool things, but you need to like ISA. All their tricks cost arc, right? Like my
Mhm.
Defender Cortex costs arc. A lot of my Firebrand tricks, I've got to have him either sitting on one to do his Maelstrom, or I've got a spike to reroll my defense, or I've got a spike for the shield. Like it's really strong. He's got really strong effects, but most of them cost. Now the Reflex Cortex does not. So that one I would say that's even one of the top 10 Cortexes in the game, top 5 Cortexes in the game, just because
Yeah.
it doesn't have that cost associated with it.
Yeah. I mean, ISA is in an amazing spot. The only thing that they are missing is a high output heavy, like Marcher Worlds and Empyreans have.
Right.
So,
Like they don't need much. I think ISA is actually in a spot where they're pretty happy, honestly. If it wasn't for just how above the bar certain things in other factions were, ISA would arguably be top dog.
I agree. I think they are the most well-rounded faction.
Yeah, I think I think they are super cool. I love their aesthetic. I love their play style, and I think that they are, like I say, they are good. They are very solid. They're just slightly outshone by all these crazy things in other factions.
Yeah. I agree. So we can talk about, unless Josh has something to say.
I was just gonna say before you run down your experience, how about you let everyone know, like, do you have placements in front of you?
Well, let him do his
And-
experience, and we can talk about the placements.
Sure.
And then that'll give me time to pull it up. All right. So for my experience, it was
Should
basically
be very quick.
Well, I don't know. I have things I can talk about. But oh, good lord, a bunch of people posted in the virtual, so now I can't find this thing. All right, so found it. Yeah, so hashtag Empyreans are dumb is the moral of the story here. So for my first game, I was playing against Ryan, aka Studio M. And so it was an Empyrean mirror match. And we both had basically the same strategy. I just happened to pull it off a little bit better. And yeah, so the crazy thing about Empyreans, right? When it comes to full size, especially on end of pulse rounds scoring scenarios, is that all you have to do is have a squad on the point. You don't have to actually activate the squad. So if you have another way of getting them there, like say fulcrums, then you don't have to actually activate squads, which then means you can activate your higher output models more than other factions have the opportunity to do. And so that was my strategy going in. And that was also Ryan's strategy going in. Where it differed was, so my opening deployment was Nyx, Mira, and a Fulcrum. And so I had positioned it to where Nyx could go up, throw out a gate, and then Mira activated and moved up to where Nyx was still in Mira's control range. And the Fulcrum was just chilling off because it was going to activate in a couple of turns to move a different squad. And so throw out a gate somewhere to summon some stuff. And then I placed a gate last turn so I could bring my Sentinel in. So then Nyx, at this point, Nyx is like in the very center of the map, like literally at 24 by 24. And or maybe a little bit further forward. And so then I don't remember what Ryan did at that point, but he was activating some squads or a jack or something. So then my turn came again. Nyx activates for the fourth time and throws out a gate and gets onto the point furthest away from my deployment zone. So his 1, I think, is what it's labeled. And locks down that zone. And then Ryan does some stuff, and then from there on, I activated the Sentinel for the entire rest of the game. I didn't activate a single squad the entire game. Ryan brought in, so I brought in my usual Sentinel, which is the 2 phase projectile cannons, the Nova cannon, and the chronomorphic accelerator. And basically, I just kept moving the Sentinel just around the board, just murdering things. And every single time it activated, it got body count. And
Sounds like the normal for you.
Yeah. And Ryan's Sentinel, he brought it in, and it was the melee Sentinel that was running Starfire Array, the null melee weapon in one arm, and then the heavy plasma sword, or whatever it's called, in the other one, and then his chest gun was the Dark Star. But his Sentinel just kept flubbing just super hard. Like, just dice just were not his friend. He just kept missing his Dark Star, so he wasn't able to kill off my squads, and it was pretty painful just watching the Sentinel flub that hard. And yeah, so come end of Pulse Round 2, the score was 22-6. The only things that I had activated other than solos was Nyx and the Sentinel for the entire game, the entire 10 turns. And so that's what we called it. It was pretty crazy just seeing what Empyreans are capable of, because that was like, I don't think they could have performed any better than they performed that game. Like, I think that was like pinnacle level of like Empyrean ridiculousness.
Well, and then you did the same thing versus Beards in that game you played against him, right? Like,
correct.
You did your test on whether, hey, can I just never activate a squad and still win this squad based mission?
Correct.
And the answer is yes. And actually, from the way you talk about it, the answer is yes, and it's not even like difficult.
No, it's really not.
I mean, not to mention like you do potentially see displacement index twice per pulse round, anyways.
Mhm.
So there are 2 times where you can do it without the fulcrum.
Yeah, that's how
But-
I got the squad onto my one. So that's right. So my first turn I put the gate over there. Second turn I put out the gate by my one and summon a squad out of it, and then I displacement index that squad onto my point. And that's how I got squads onto all 3 of my points, and then the Sentinel just started murdering things. So, yeah.
Well, he never stops murdering things. I know, in my personal experience, I don't think I've ever gone a turn where he could have, even if it was just like a 10% chance of him getting body count, where he doesn't get it. It's pretty absurd.
I've got nothing constructive to lend to this conversation.
Yeah. So, I know. Red always talks about Empyrean just being too efficient, and that was just peak. That was peak efficiency. I don't think you can get more efficient than what happened that game. It was insane to witness. Felt pretty good, but it was dumb.
Well, yeah. I mean, the problem is like some factions are actually having to like activate their squads, and like luckily it was like Empyreans versus Empyreans, so I feel no pity for you, Ryan. But you know, like against another faction, like do they even have a chance? Like squad activations, like maybe ISA does, because squad activations in most other factions are seen as inefficient or suboptimal activations.
Mhm.
And ISA kind of cheats on that one a little bit because their squads are actually reasonably good. But I mean, AC, if I'm having to activate squads every turn and you're just being able to just activate your Sentinel every turn, I know I'm pretty pissed off because I hate my squads. Even though I have to say, the other day I played a game with them in person, and Witch Hunters really did like a 12% kill on a Strike Raptor, and I can't talk so much crap about them anymore.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, so that was nutty. That was like when I realized that Empyreans are just the Fulcrum is so OP specifically.
The
Fulcrum's so OP.
Fulcrum is insane.
It's absolutely nutty.
I was
Like
on the edge of my seat there, thinking you were actually going to call them overpowered. I was like, is he finally going to do it?
I mean, he said it in so many words.
Yeah, no,
You're on record now.
Empyreans are nutty. Yeah, like we've like in skirmish we've been on our factotum kick because they're just silly. But
Factotums are
man.
so dumb.
full size Fulcrum MVP. Yeah, Fulcrum mad MVP.
It's like the Factotum takes all the best parts of the Engineer and all the best parts of the Marauder and just like squishes them together and says, "Here's this better piece." Oh, and have an extra defense.
I mean, I don't know 100% about all the best parts because
Well, right, he doesn't have tune-up,
yeah,
but
doesn't have.
he has the melee system lock, which is like one of my favorite things in Marauder. He has the by the way, he doesn't have the spike for his. He has the Warjack activation token removal, like the Engineer. But he gets all that with a tougher package. He also has the healing of the Engineer.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's map 4 like the Marauder. So he doesn't have a gun, but he's more durable. And I think staying on a point and being durable is probably one of the strongest things you can be in a game or in this game.
Mhm.
And he just does that. So, I mean, 1 point for essentially a Scourge worth of stats.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've talked about how going from ISA with 0 access to repair to Empyreans with so much repair that like it's my favorite mechanic in the game right now. Like,
Well, I mean, the thing
repair
is,
stupid.
like, you can repair the Factotum can repair itself. So I mean, sometimes you'll just go and repair itself so that it just sits on a point even easier.
Yeah, 100%. That happens quite
It's
often.
very ridiculous. Like,
Yeah. Like if all my
trust me,
factotum
my
has to
after
do
action
is
reports are still all about the factotum.
yeah, it's a tanky boy.
Anybody
Definitely
else
tanky.
that agrees, feel free to join in on that.
Then for my second game, I played Beardy, who again is always a pleasure to play against. And
I really enjoyed our game. That was my first game against him, and he was great.
yeah, I don't remember exactly what happened. Basically, the usual stuff: Nyx, Oculus, Fulcrum, deploy. Nyx goes up, throws some stuff out. I either activate Nyx or whatever I threw out. Then the Sentinel comes out, and then the Sentinel just starts murdering things.
Sentinel runs the board every time you get it out there.
Yeah, and yeah, and it doesn't die.
Yeah,
And,
I know. I don't know if I've ever been able to kill it. And it produces so much value just through body count and removing things from the board because you A, can't hide from it, and B, don't get cover from it.
Mhm.
That it just produces value every turn, and then it's producing body count every turn, and it's like, well, great, I lost this from Pulse Round 1 because I let him have a gate.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean against Ryan, I had the final score was 22-6, and I had 12 points worth of body count, which is just insane.
Well, what's absurd to me too is that if Empyreans really wanted to tech into it, and like say they were against an ISA force that was all about null weapons, right? Like,
Mhm.
you know, Morningstar had 2 null cannons on his shoulder. Everything was null, right?
Mhm.
And they couldn't get a gate out all game except for the ones from Nyx. If they really wanted to, they could play their one card and still get a Sentinel out.
Oh, the gate
Charge a
Healy
gate
card.
with as much as you want.
Yeah,
Like,
this is true.
just the fact there's a way that you can just circumvent anybody's chance to stop you is so frustrating.
Yeah.
And I mean, not that people are going to be able to stop you very consistently with a 5-arc gate, and you still have Empyreans with their overstatedness coming at you.
Yeah. I mean the Sentinel has some weaknesses, but
I mean, he is def too, which is a good start.
yeah.
Like,
He's def too. When he comes out, he's very killable, just like all the heavies. He's very weak to null, or it's very weak to null. I don't know why I'm saying he. It's very weak to null,
he has that
and
big dick swinging around the board most of the time.
that's true. That is a good point. And Imperials don't have any way of removing continuous effects, so they can be really nasty against it, especially system lock. Ugh.
Especially when you know what's funny? It's like
they terrify me.
Just a little bit of context for me. Like, I play with a lot of continuous effects because I think they're super strong, and I know against me personally, they wreck me all the time. But God, most people, every time I put a continuous effect on them, it always just goes away. It is like so heartbreaking because anytime I have a continuous effect on me, I'm like, oh God, this thing's gonna die, isn't it? And it does. Like, I had in one of my final round with Beards, I think it was, I had a Duchess that was on corroded and only had 1 point of damage done to her. And I was like, I'm gonna roll this double strike here, aren't I? He's like, no. I rolled the double strike. It was like, they are just so cruel to me, continuous effects. I can't deal with them.
Well, listen, your Duchess has to hit somebody first before she matters, so.
I know. Well, like I say, he's referring to a time when I played Duchess. He just brought a Sentinel out. I had her charged. I was shot him with her system failure gun, which, I mean, even if it did hit, with him being def 2 and me being def 5, should have hit. But anyways, even if it did hit, there's still a 50% chance that he just doesn't care.
Yeah.
So I think system failure is one of the more awkward conditions.
Yeah.
In the game, but
the best part was you missed.
And then I aggression theorem and missed again.
Missed again.
Step 2! I'm telling you what, continuous effects are just mean to me.
Josh doesn't want to hear about Def 2 either.
Notice I am staying quiet.
What's wrong with Step 2?
We'll get there. Our game.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah, I was actually there for that. Never mind.
We'll get there.
Josh, I feel your pain.
Yeah. So then, third match was against Dino, who, or Justin, who already talked about it, because I honestly do not remember what happened in
As
that
we're
game.
saying on this podcast now, I graciously conceded.
And by graciously, he means at the end of the game. It was. This was the literal
man.
quote. This was the literal
There are
quote.
oceans of less salt than I had, okay?
What could I have done differently?
Well, hey, the fact is, I say that, and he's like, well, nothing really. Like, I just wiped you off the board.
Yeah.
One of the thing that kind of made me quit when I did, though, was I had a firebrand that he only would have had like 2 shots against, and he just like randomly throws like 1 shot. I think you killed it in 1 shot or something. Like, you 1-shot it, which ended up giving you body count and taking me off like that whole side of the board. Like, it was game changing.
completely
And I was like, well, what am I supposed to do in this situation? Like, it was so dumb.
It was completely unexpected. It was just like, oh, well, that's gone now. And yeah, that happened. Yeah, and so then last game was against Josh, and he talked about it a little bit already, but like, it was just nutty because I had like tried specifically to position my Sentinel and my Astrius that I had just summoned to not be within Strike Raptor range unless he corticaled. And of course he had cortical. I was like, well, that's unfortunate. And so then, because I knew he was going to be summoning in Corvus, and if my if my Sentinel died, then it was going to be a bad day. And so he comes at me with a 7 mat, 2 arc, what'd you call it? Strike
Melee.
Raptor. Yeah, melee Strike Raptor. He hits me with the first attack and does 2 damage. And I'm like, well, GG, guys. And then hits me with, then misses his second melee attack. 7 and 2 versus 2 dice. I rolled a 3 and he rolled a 2.
If you guys could see my face right now.
on 9 dice.
I just like how Josh has tried to repress this, and you're just making him relive it in like brutal, vivid detail. Like,
Yeah, I got to, because it was crazy. I gotta. It's for the fans, Josh. It's for the fans. They want to hear about it.
all 6 of them, they need to hear
I do
this.
this for you.
All 6 of them. Yeah.
Hey, my mom listens to this podcast.
So then he attacks with the Cyclone Cannon. He hits, but then fails to do damage. Because you beat me by what, 1? You're rolling 4 and 1.
Yep.
Yeah. But then he murks Astrius. He does 2 damage to it. But then decides to, instead of killing off Astrius, which didn't matter because I had Arcane Synthesis in my hand, so Astrius didn't matter. To go for the kill on the Sentinel. He hits it with the particle cannon. And you hit it good too.
Yeah. I rolled 1 or 2 off of removing him from the table.
Yeah, you
Like
rolled
I was missing like 2 pips.
Yeah, you rolled like an 8 or a 9 and put me at 3 damage or 3 wounds. And
8 or a 9 on 11 dice.
yeah, it was something dumb. And yeah, that's when Josh got tilted. And from there the Sentinel just killed some things. He didn't kill stuff as good as he usually does.
I mean,
he
you still got body count, so I mean,
No, I didn't get body count. But I had just taken all of Josh's like options off of the board because I killed Corvus. But I had
pretty
missed.
trivially, I recall.
Well, I missed my spray on Corvus, so I had to put an extra attack into him, which was unfortunate. because Astrius had attacked him but failed to kill him. He only did 2 damage to him, and so I thought I'd finish him off with the spray. But Corvus's two defense, he got inspired by the Sentinel and dodged the fire. But I put the Strike Raptor on fire and did damage to it, and I put Fiddles on fire but didn't do damage to it. And then I killed Corvus with a particle cannon, or phase projectile cannon. Then I attacked the engineer with a phase projectile and only did 1 damage. And then I put my corrosion gun into the Strike Raptor so I could stack up those additional effects. And then I aggression theorem to finish off the engineer. And then that's when Josh didn't have impulse inducer, so he only had the fiddle to activate. And he had to go through a factotum or a 4 health sentinel to make any impact, and a 4 health sentinel and a 1 health Astrius in order to impact the and a Nyx. Yeah.
Well, it was a 4 health charge sentinel too, right?
Yeah. Well, no, the sentinel wasn't on the board, but if he didn't kill the sentinel, then he was just going to get murdered. So on the point, I had a 1 health Astrius and a full health Nyx, and then on the other point, I had a full health factotum. And then I had positioned my gate to be rude to where he would have had to kill something before getting up onto the point. Yeah, because chunky bases are chunky.
Yeah, that's one thing I found with vehicles is like I want to use them. Like AC loves their vehicles. Well, they want to love their vehicles. But a lot of the time the terrain just doesn't let it happen. Like you have to be able to influence scenario somehow. And just the idea that you're going to have to sit out in no man's land most of the time makes me have to leave them on the sideboard.
Yeah, they're definitely a high risk, high reward type model because they're fat. They're
Tell that to ISA. It's like no risk, no risk, no reward.
Yeah, well, interceptors are not good. Just like base zeniths are not good. Base size are good. Base racer bats they're not bad, but
I liked mine. Because I played at Hit a Kill one game, and he was like, "Well, hey, you should try Marchers." I'm like, "Okay." Or was it him? I played against somebody and played Marchers, and like the base Razorbat was fine. I rolled like shit for him, but rolling 5 dice for one of your attacks and having just defense matrix for shits like so dumb. I can't believe that model has defense matrix base.
That's true. Yeah, it's got a cyclone cannon base.
Well, I mean, you have no room to talk. Astraeus also has defense matrix base for no good reason.
Astraeus is dumb.
Astraeus is the best statted warrior model in the game.
Yeah, he's the
By
highest.
a long shot, actually.
Yeah. I think the closest is Voss, and
I would count Voss if I didn't have to be charged to have armor 4.
yeah. So I said the closest.
You guys know my opinion on Astrius.
I play.
We're on a podcast, right? You have to speak so that people know your opinion.
Yeah, so like in a game against Josh, like half the time I have to play bait the Strike Raptor because the Strike Raptor is absolutely terrifying, and so the 2 things that I know I can always bait Josh with are the Sentinel and Astrius.
Well, that's one thing about playing with Josh is like there's just these trigger models in every faction for him. Like if you're playing AC into him, put a Raxus out and put it barely in his reach, and I guarantee you something is jumping across the board to get to that Raxus.
I mean, you're not wrong. Raxus.
It's just so funny. It's so like reliable that you're like that. It's I laugh every time because I'm like, I'm just gonna put Raxus behind this building over here. So I guess if your Strike Raptor wanted to come over, you would have to cortical and fly up. But I guess you could do it. Every time I count on you. If you have cortical in your hand, that Raxus is getting targeted.
There's this one time we played against Josh, and we were playing I think it was City Boils because I summoned the Astrius like up on top of a building, and it was off scenario. So Josh's decision was go kill Astrius and the demon I just summoned, or deal with scenario. And you could literally tell like how much that decision hurt Josh.
Yeah.
I made the right one in the end. I didn't go hit Astrius.
Yeah, I didn't care either way. But it's
Boy, did I
always
want
fun.
to, though.
Yeah. It's like I always have backup plans. It's rare that I'm like YOLO playing. It happens though. I love YOLO plays. They're like the funnest part of the game.
Oh yeah, I mean some of those plays that are just like out of the blue and crazy. Like I say, that sec play, that was insane, and I loved it. Like it probably could have lost me the game, like in different circumstances, but it I like that kind of stuff. Little things that like that play will stick with me, and I'll probably use that against somebody someday.
Yeah, and like, well, I pulled a YOLO play in Josh's game on turn 1 because I forgot that the stupid engineer removes continuous effects. So I YOLO'd the Oculus off the building using the speed boost from the ladder to get into range. Fury range, so I could pyrokinetic surge. Then of course, like I rolled stupid, and then dealt no damage and put it on fire. And then Josh was just like, "Well, I'm going to tune it up anyways." So, it's like
Yeah, that is something that doesn't come up a whole lot because usually I've noticed engineers like normally are not in tune-up range after turn 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
No,
But-
they got one job to do. Put that tune-up token on there and sit back and sit on a point.
And remove activation token.
And remove activation tokens. Yeah.
That too.
Got their second most important job.
I mean, I typically draw Impulse Inducer whenever I need it, so it's very rare where I'm like banking on the engineer, but some games it just enables me to endlessly activate.
Yeah. Until you are banking on the engineer.
It's true. Until I am.
Until you are. But yeah, so that was the league. It was a lot of fun. Like,
So what was the faction breakdown?
cool. That's right. So let's get into some stats. So we had 2 Empyrean players, we had 2 ISA players, we had 3 Marcher World players, and 2 AC players. Because we only had 9 players this round. Because someone had to drop. But hopefully we can get some more.
They would have been an Empyreans player, by the way, guys.
Yes, it would have been an Empyreans player. And not by like choice of that's their faction, but by choice of they want to learn how to play Empyreans so they can learn how to beat them.
Are you saying that's about Red?
Yeah.
Oh, Red is considering seriously playing Empyreans competitively.
Yeah, but I mean his heart's with Marcher Worlds. So
His heart is where he gets the W's, man.
that's
And-
fair.
He
This
is a
is a-
competitive player. He's a
That's
self-proclaimed competitive player, and he wants to play. I mean, like he's not one of those that like jumps faction to faction every time like something gets a boost. Like, but Empyreans are cool and they're really competitive and really strong. So he's like, hey, whatever, let's do it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a solid chance you guys might see me playing Empyreans for the next league.
All Empyreans.
What I'm waiting for is Josh plays Empyreans and like something happens and like his Sentinel does like nothing every game and he's like, fucking sneaky.
Well, that's literally that was the funny part about our game is because like spontaneous combustion is such a good map for a melee strike raptor because it can be scenario relevant the entire game, like without any problem. So it's terrifying. And I was like, listen, Justin, I just need his strike raptor to roll terribly for the first 2 turns.
You got your wish.
I got my wish.
Actually, you know what? That actually brings me to something we didn't even bring up in the community section before. You and Sorlo updated all the dice rollers.
Well, I updated them, but yes.
Well, you were working on it together, right?
Yeah, he
You just did the coding part, not the important part at all.
Yeah, no. He created the original. So here's the update. So I did the update. He created the dice rollers. So that's 100% him. He did all the coding and all the everything else. And so, but the issue that we were having on his tables is because of the way that the dice rollers were shaped and the fact that it was spawning dice from like a weird. It doesn't spawn dice directly in the center. I don't know. I don't know enough about coding to try to figure out how to change where the position of where it spawned the dice was. Couldn't figure it out for the life of me. So what happened is on one side of the table it works fine, but on the other side of the table, because of the rotation point of the tray, if you rolled a lot of dice, it would end up rolling dice not inside of the tray but on top of it, and it was causing problems. So what I did was I went through, I found a different dice tray that's circular, and then I put the buttons on the outside of the tray so that now no matter where the dice tray is on the board, all the dice are going to be inside of the tray all the time. So that was the update. So it's just a quality of life update. So yeah. And then my other quality of life update was that I finally got my movement buttons working. So all of the little tokens that were driving people nuts are no more. They do not exist. And now whenever you pick up a model, a little thing pops up on top of the model, little square box, and then when you move the model, it shows you how far you moved it. So no more, you don't have to hold tab. You just pick it up and move it. And it's wonderful.
I find myself slightly excited by that.
Yeah.
I had a friend working on some code last night. The auras that you can manually do. He's actually working on this weird way where it's actually part of the tables code, and so everything you could technically do that from, and it automatically detects base size, like craziness. So we'll see if I can get that ironed out. It's still got a lot of problems right now. We're still in terrible testing phases, but we're trying to update everybody's tabletop experience.
Yeah, and I'm also working on figuring out some volume to volume line of sight solutions. So that's the next thing on the to-do list. I have the volumes created and have these little ruler things, but I need help with some coding to get them to work the way that I want them to work instead of the way that they currently work. So, yeah. So hopefully we have some pretty cool TTS stuff going on here soon. And then before we start promoting anything else, I just want to go through the results for the last league. So coming in first is myself. Coming in second is Justin. Coming in third is Josh. Coming in fourth is Beardy. I should probably do factions, so y'all know our factions. Beardy is AC. No Howard is Marcher World at 5th. Jojo came in at 6th with AC. Hidakul came in at 7th with ISA. Rodko came in at 8th with Marcher Worlds. And Ryan came in at 9th with Empyreans. So those are the standings. I'm still undefeated. I'm currently the highest rated Warcaster tournament player in the world. Top flight Warcaster player of the world, Craig.
Are you guys hearing this right now? We need to stop this monster.
Come on, no one appreciates the Friday reference at least? I'm
I
disappointed.
thought that was like a South Park reference. Like,
Nah. What? It's Friday after next. Top flight security of the world, Craig. The world.
you sounded kind of like Cartman there. Like,
I was just because I was being dumb. But yeah, so for anybody that is interested in the Tabletop Simulator League, it's always going on sale for $10 on Steam. And
Not the
come
league,
in-
just Tabletop Simulator.
Right, Tabletop Simulator is always on sale.
a free
the
league.
the league is free. There are no prizes. It's just for fun and bragging rights.
It's just for
And-
Sneaky can stroke his E-peen.
Listen, I told y'all I put on these tournaments so I have people to play. Because apparently nobody on Discord wants to play me anymore.
Wonder why.
I had
And,
things going on the other night, or I would have played you.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I'm just joking. But yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun. We hang out. There's new players, fairly experienced players, very experienced players. So it's a whole slew. You'll definitely learn a lot. It's a good time. And yeah, so we've got the 4th league. It's going to be another de-escalation, and that's going to be starting a week from this recording. So it's going to be starting up March 28th. So hopefully Josh can get this pumped out here soon so people can hear about it before it starts. And yeah, cool thing is this should be the last league that we run using only Kickstarter 1 scenarios. So the next league after this, we should have Collision Course in our hands with some new scenarios to test out and play, which I'm super
Let's hope
excited
there's more
about.
skirmish scenarios, because one of the problems right now is just that it's always the same skirmish scenarios.
Yeah. Well, they've confirmed there's going to be more skirmish scenarios.
Well, let's hope they're
So-
good skirmish scenarios. I don't,
This is
you
true.
know, you can add more scenarios all you want, but if they're bad scenarios, then keep them away.
This is true. We don't need scenario number 2 from First Contact,
Dawn Raid,
if that's what it's called. Yeah.
I'm like 90% sure it's called Dawn Raid because it's one side stealth because they're coming in at nighttime or whatever.
That would make sense. That would make sense.
Like it's just like what the heck? What are they thinking?
Yeah. But anyways, TTS League, come join, have some fun, learn some things,
Get abused by Sneaky.
or beat me and make me very happy.
So he's a masochist too.
What's sadism without a little masochism
So
on the
so
side?
put Sneaky in his gimp suit.
Okay, next topic. On that
John's
note,
like, I've got some things to edit.
on that note, Sneaky, you got any final thoughts?
Come play. That's all I got.
What about you, Justin?
Hey, anybody that can, you should join the online league. It's super fun. You get to play people you normally wouldn't play. You get to see strategies you've never seen before. I've played an absurd amount of this game. I've theory crafted a lot for this game, and still that sec play was surprising to me. It's surprising some of the things that just happen because game state makes them happen too.
Yeah.
So, by all means, come out. Have a good time. Well, come out online and have a good time.
Yeah.
Not like I'm inviting you to the local store or something.
Yeah.
Have a
I
good
wanna-
time. Play the game, man. It's a fun game. Don't take it too seriously, but have a good time with it, and you'll have a good time. So,
Yeah. I want to piggyback off Justin real quick and say that it's also a really good way to test things out. So you can figure out, like, if you're looking to get into the game but haven't yet, you can pick up some
yeah,
stuff.
this way
and
you don't
see-
pick up
see-
more marauders and have, one or two of them just sit around all the time.
Yeah, or 4 hunters.
Or so you don't buy, one weaver for your AC, and you're like, oh, I didn't realize I would need 2 of these.
Right. Yeah. So it's a good way to test out, see what what you like to play, and where you can put your money, before you go out and spend it. So
Informed purchases are the best.
true.
How about you, Josh? What do you want to close out on?
Well, I had a lot of fun in the league, even though I got handily tooled by Sneaky. All my opponents
You got
were
handily tooled in the last round, right? Like
there, but
I
It
get
feels-
diddled right before the last round.
regardless, it feels terrible to make it that far through a tournament and just be like, I'm here for my beating, Sneaky. It's time for me to go now.
I mean, to be fair, if that Strike Raptor kills the Sentinel, it's a game, right?
Oh, 100%. But that's just how it feels. And all my opponents have been a pleasure to play against. I love the league and the people that participate in it. It's so much fun. It's almost more like a club than a tournament at this point. But yeah, come out, sign up, come out, have some fun. Someone dethrone Sneaky for the love of God. And yeah,
You've had a chance twice now.
I know.
Well, dethrone Empyrean really is what it is.
Yeah, no, that is the truth of the matter.
Well, no one else is really rating that highly with Empyreans. Like Ryan
Well,
and Red.
I mean,
have both
Ryan
been, like,
also
middle of
only
the pack.
played like one game this tournament, 2 games.
True.
You
Yeah.
also have 1.5 billion games under your belt.
Yeah,
so.
he only played 2 of his 4 games. So, I mean, of course he's not going to rate that high.
There's that
And
too.
his first game was against you. So it was like, okay, well, one Empyrean player was going to walk away a sad panda. Like,
Well, I was also referencing last league where we had two other Empyrean players beside myself, and they both rated
I mean,
like.
wasn't it
middle.
all like Empyreans and Marcher Worlds for the top in the last league?
No.
I mean, I
It
know
was-
I placed toward the top, and then there was no more AC until the bottoms. And then
Yeah.
Hitakill was the only one, and he was playing a meme list for ISA, so I guess that shouldn't count. But
That's fair.
so
No,
I
it's-
was the outlier there.
Yeah. It was. I think last round it was me, and then Rodco, who was playing Marshall Worlds, and then you, and then Josh, and then Ryan, I think, and then maybe it was No Howard.
Imps,
I don't
Marcher-
remember.
Marcher Worlds is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. No, it was Imps, Marshall Worlds, AC.
Well, I'm just saying the factions that.
Yeah. Marshall World or Imps, and then other stuff after that. Yeah.
And on that note,
Red or somebody else.
and on that note, we'll talk to you guys next time.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening. This podcast is brought to you by Essex Wargames. Now, if y'all enjoyed the content, don't forget to subscribe. Now, for more content, you can check out the Through the Void Gate blog, or join us on the Essex Wargames Facebook, Discord, and YouTube. Stay safe and roll super strikes.